Welcome to the Wellbeing Podcast, where every episode is a step toward a healthier, happier you. Let's grow, thrive, and shine together. Today, we're taking a deep dive into Admiral McRaven's book, Make Your Bed.
Oh,
You might not think a Navy SEAL has much to say about well-being,
right.
but trust me, this book is packed with insights on how tiny actions can lead to big life changes.
Yeah, what's so fascinating here is that McRaven wasn't just any SEAL. I mean, this is the guy who commanded all U.S. special operations, overseeing missions like the capture of Saddam Hussein and the raid on Osama bin Laden.
Wow.
But he kicks off his book with something surprisingly simple, making your bed.
Okay, I have to admit, I'm intrigued. Bed making? It seems a little mundane for a guy who's lived such an extraordinary life.
Yeah.
What's the big deal?
Well, in SEAL training, it was more than just tidying up. It was about discipline, attention to detail. Beds had to be perfectly made with hospital corners so sharp you could bounce a quarter off them.
Really?
And if they weren't, well, that's where the sugar cookie comes in.
Sugar cookie. That sounds almost pleasant.
Not quite. It meant jumping in the ocean fully clothed, then rolling around on the beach until you were covered head to toe in wet sand.
Oh.
Hence the sugar cookie resemblance. McRaven argues that this seemingly small act of making your bed sets the tone for your entire day. It's a small win, a tiny victory that builds momentum.
So even in the high-stakes world of the SEALs, it's about mastering the little things.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you wonder if we underestimate the power of those small wins in our own lives.
Right?
Those little things we accomplish each day that give us a sense of control and progress.
Exactly. It's about proving to yourself that you can handle the small things, which in turn gives you the confidence to tackle the big ones. What stood out to you from this part of the book?
You know, I'm struck by the contrast between this almost obsessive focus on bed making and the high-stakes missions McRaven was involved in. It's a good reminder that success, no matter what field you're in, often comes down to mastering the fundamentals.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the teamwork aspect? SEALs are known for their incredible ability to work together. Did McRaven address that too?
Absolutely. He shares a really powerful story about a near-fatal parachute accident that he had. His pelvis was shattered. He was told his career was likely over. It was a dark time. But he emphasizes how the support of his wife, friends, even his superiors, was crucial to his recovery. They helped him find the strength to push forward when he felt like giving up.
It's a reminder that we all need a support system, people who will be there for us during tough times.
Yeah.
But did McRaven only focus on the positive aspects of teamwork? What about the challenges of working with others?
Well, to illustrate that, he provides a fascinating contrast by sharing his experience with Saddam Hussein after his capture. Saddam was kept in a small room sleeping on an army cot. And guess what? He refused to make his bed.
You're kidding? A dictator who couldn't even handle that one small task. I can't imagine him being much of a team player.
Exactly. McRaven found this detail incredibly telling. It highlighted the difference between someone focused solely on themselves and someone who understands the power of contributing to a shared space, even in the smallest ways. Think about your own life. Who are your teammates?
It makes you realize that even small actions can reveal a lot about a person's character and their ability to be part of something bigger than themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes me to another point that resonated with me. Heart over size. McRaven talks about a small seaman recruit who aced every challenge despite facing doubts because of his stature.
Right. The instructor even taunted him, saying the waves would break him in half. But this recruit, despite his small size, possessed incredible inner strength and resilience. He refused to quit, proving that SEAL training wasn't just about physical prowess, it was about what was inside.
That reminds me of McRaven's encounter with Tom Norris, a Medal of Honor recipient. Initially, McRaven misjudged Norris based on appearance, only to discover he was one of the toughest SEALs ever.
Wow.
It's a great lesson in not judging a book by its cover, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's easy to make assumptions, but as McRaven learned, you can't measure a person's heart by their outward appearance. Don't underestimate anyone, and certainly don't underestimate yourself.
Speaking of things that are hard to measure, let's talk about life's fairness. That has to be something that comes up a lot in SEAL training, right? I mean, those guys face some of the toughest conditions imaginable.
Absolutely. McRaven tackles this head on, particularly through the lens of that sugar cookie experience. He emphasizes that sometimes, no matter how hard you try or how skilled you are, life throws you a curveball, and you just have to roll with it.
That must be a tough lesson to learn, especially in a high-pressure environment like SEAL training. Did he offer any specific examples of how to deal with life's unfairness?
He brings up Lieutenant Moki Martin, a legendary SEAL instructor. Moki was an incredible athlete, a triathlete, phenomenal swimmer and cyclist, but then he had this horrific bike accident that left him paralyzed.
That's awful. I can't even imagine facing that kind of setback.
It was a devastating blow. But here's the thing, Moki never let his circumstances define him. He went on to become an accomplished painter, a father, and even founded a triathlon. He embodies that life isn't fair but drive on mentality.
That's incredible. It's so easy to get caught up in feeling like a victim when things go wrong.
Yeah.
But Moki's story is a powerful reminder that we always have a choice in how we respond.
And sometimes those seemingly unfair experiences can make us stronger. Just like the circus, which McRaven describes as this grueling punishment for failing to meet standards in training. It was 2 hours of extra calisthenics, relentless push-ups, flutter kicks, all designed to push trainees to their absolute limits.
Wait, wasn't the circus a bad thing?
It definitely wasn't fun. McRaven even talks about how he and his swim buddy kept ending up on the circus list because they were lagging behind in their swims. But ironically, those extra workouts were exactly what they needed to improve. In the end, they finished the final 5-mile open ocean swim first.
So the circus, while unpleasant, ultimately helped them overcome their weakness.
Right.
Talk about turning a negative into a positive. It makes you think about how we often resist challenges.
Yeah.
But sometimes those very challenges are what we need to grow.
It's all about perspective. McRaven also gets very personal, sharing a story about getting relieved of command early in his career. He was trying to shake things up, modernize his squadron, but it backfired. He felt like he'd failed, that his reputation was tarnished.
It's refreshing to hear that even someone who reached McRaven's level faced setbacks.
Right.
It makes you realize that failure is a part of life no matter who you are or what you achieve. But what was his takeaway from that experience?
He talks about having a choice at that point. He could either let the failure define him, or he could use it as fuel to prove himself. Of course, he chose the latter, going on to command a SEAL team, then all the SEALs on the West Coast, and eventually leading special operations during wartime.
It reminds me of that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It sounds like McRaven truly embraced that philosophy.
Absolutely. He emphasizes that it was those early failures that taught him the importance of perseverance, resilience, and learning from mistakes.
It's easy to preach those things,
Yeah.
but to hear it from someone who's faced such incredible challenges, it definitely makes you stop and think. I agree. And speaking of challenges, McRaven doesn't shy away from the darker side of his experiences, the loss and tragedy he witnessed. There's a moving chapter where he describes the ramp ceremony for fallen soldiers in Afghanistan. The somber dignity, the respect shown, it's incredibly powerful. I can only imagine how emotional those ceremonies must be. Did he connect that experience back to his own personal struggles?
He makes this unexpected link between the ramp ceremony and the mudflats during Hell Week. Picture this: trainees up to their necks in mud, freezing, exhausted, tempted to quit. And then one of them starts singing. And then the whole class joins in.
Wow.
Yeah.
It sounds like they found strength in that shared experience, even in the midst of such misery.
Exactly. That act of defiance, finding strength in collective hope, it echoes the strength and unity shown during those somber ramp ceremonies. It's about rising to the occasion, being your best, even in the darkest moments, whether personal or collective.
That's such a profound insight. It shows that even in a book about SEAL training, there are lessons that resonate on a deeply human level. It's a reminder that we all face challenges, we all experience loss, and we all have the potential to find strength in unexpected places.
And sometimes that strength comes from the most unexpected sources. In another chapter, McRaven talks about the importance of hope, especially in the face of tragedy. He shares his experience at Dover Air Force Base, comforting grieving families after a devastating helicopter crash that killed 38 service members.
Oh, wow.
He was struggling to find the right words to offer solace amidst such immense loss.
And that's when he saw General John Kelly again, right? The general whose son had been killed in Afghanistan.
Yes. McRaven watched as Kelly went from family to family, offering comfort and support with a depth of understanding that only someone who'd experienced that kind of loss could offer.
It's incredible how shared experience, even in the realm of grief, can become a source of strength and hope. It's like Kelly was saying, I understand your pain, and I'm here to help you carry it.
Exactly. And that's where the well-being connection is so powerful. Offering hope to others, even in small ways, can have a profound impact. It might be a listening ear, a kind word, a simple act of service. We all have the ability to be a source of hope for someone else. It's a reminder that we're all connected, that we all need each other. And sometimes the most profound acts of well-being are the ones we do for others.
I love that. It's not just about self-improvement, it's about recognizing the power we have to impact the lives of others.
Speaking of impact, there's another story McRaven tells that perfectly encapsulates this idea. It's about this injured Army Ranger he met in a hospital in Afghanistan. The ranger had stepped on a mine and lost both his legs. McRaven was struck by the ranger's resilience, his determination to not let this tragedy define him.
Didn't the ranger say something like, "I'm just glad it was me and not one of my men"?
He did, and that kind of selflessness, that unwavering commitment to something bigger than himself, it perfectly illustrates McRaven's final message: never, ever ring the bell.
Ah, yes. The bell. He describes how on the very first day of SEAL training, the instructors show the trainees a brass bell and say, if you want to quit, just ring this bell 3 times. But then they add a warning. Quitting never makes anything easier.
And out of 150 trainees who started, only 33 graduated. But McRaven's point is that life is full of bells, those temptations to give up when things get tough.
So how do we resist those temptations? How do we cultivate that never give up mentality?
He reinforces this idea by sharing the story of that Army Ranger who lost his legs. Even in the hospital bed with his life irrevocably changed, the Ranger was focused on getting back to his unit, on finding a way to continue serving.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Talk about refusing to ring the bell. He chose to focus on what he could still do rather than dwelling on what he'd lost. It's incredibly inspiring.
Exactly. And McRaven uses that story to drive home the point that we all face bells in our own lives, those moments where we're tempted to give up on a dream, a relationship, a goal, or even on ourselves. The choice is always ours.
That's such a powerful message. It's a reminder that we all have the power to choose how we respond to challenges, to setbacks, to those moments when we feel like giving up.
You know, one of the things that really struck me about McRaven's book is how he emphasizes the importance of pushing past our comfort zones. He calls it daring greatly.
Okay.
And he illustrates this concept with a vivid story from SEAL training.
I was wondering when we get back to those SEAL training stories. They're pretty intense, but there's always a lesson to be learned.
Right.
What does daring greatly look like in the SEAL world?
Okay, so picture this. You're perched atop a 30-foot tower,
Okay.
facing this daunting rope descent called the slide for life.
Oh, wow.
You can play it safe, inching down slowly, or you can embrace the challenge head first, what they call commando style.
Commando style.
Yeah.
I'm sensing a metaphor here. It sounds like he's not just talking about physical challenges.
Exactly. At first, McRaven hesitated, fearing injury. But a seasoned SEAL veteran challenged him, saying, that obstacle course is going to beat you every time unless you start taking some risks. McRaven realized that he was letting fear hold him back.
So he finally took the plunge commando style.
He did. And he smashed his previous record. It's a powerful lesson that we can apply to any area of our lives. We often hold ourselves back because of fear.
Right.
But pushing past that fear, trusting our abilities, can lead to incredible breakthroughs.
It makes you wonder what we're missing out on because we're too afraid to take that leap. What obstacle courses are we facing in our own lives? And are we choosing the safe route or the path that leads to growth?
It's a question worth pondering. And speaking of facing fears, McRaven also talks about dealing with bullies.
Okay.
He uses this really interesting analogy, sharks.
Okay, I'm officially scared, sharks and bullies. This doesn't sound like it's going to end well.
Well, during SEAL training, they had these grueling night swims in the open ocean waters, known to be full of great white sharks.
Oh my gosh, I think I'd be ringing that bell about now.
I hear you. But McRaven makes this fascinating connection between sharks and bullies. He says they both prey on weakness, on fear. If you show fear, if you back down, they'll sense it and strike.
So if we want to stand up to those sharks in our lives, we need to find our courage.
Exactly. McRaven argues that courage is essential for navigating life's challenges, for standing up for ourselves and what we believe in.
Right.
And just like physical strength, we can build our courage muscle by facing our fears, by refusing to back down. Did he give any examples of how he applied this shark philosophy in his own life?
Yeah, that's a good question.
He actually connects it back to his experience with Saddam Hussein. He describes a meeting where he brought new Iraqi leaders to see Saddam in captivity. Even though Saddam was stripped of his power, he still managed to intimidate them to make them fearful.
Because they hadn't yet found their own courage.
Precisely. They were still living in the shadow of his tyranny. But by capturing Saddam, American soldiers had demonstrated that courage can dismantle even the most formidable bullies. It's a reminder that we all have the power to stand up to negativity, to toxic people, to anything that threatens our well-being.
It's about finding that inner strength, that voice that says, I'm not backing down.
Yeah.
Just like those SEAL trainees singing on the mudflats.
Yes.
It's a different kind of courage.
Yeah.
But equally powerful.
Yes. McRaven makes that explicit linking those seemingly disparate events to highlight the importance of rising to the occasion, finding strength in dark moments. It might be the mudflats, it might be a hostage rescue, it might be comforting grieving families. The challenge is to dig deep and be our best selves even when it's hard.
That's such a powerful reminder that we all have moments where we're called to be more, to do more.
Hmm.
And sometimes that means finding hope in the most unexpected places. Speaking of hope, wasn't there a chapter on that too?
There was. It's one of the most moving parts of the book. He talks about the power of hope, particularly amidst tragedy. He tells the story of attending a service at Dover Air Force Base for the families of fallen soldiers. He was struggling to find words of comfort to make sense of such immense loss.
And that's where he encountered General John Kelly again,
Yep.
right? The general whose son had been killed in Afghanistan.
Yes. He watched as General Kelly moved from family to family, offering comfort and support with a depth of understanding that only someone who had experienced that kind of loss could offer.
It's amazing how shared experience, even in the realm of grief, can become a source of strength and hope. It's like Kelly was saying, I understand your pain, and I'm here to help you carry it.
And that's a beautiful example of the well-being connection. Offering hope to others, even in small ways, can have a profound impact.
Yeah.
It might be a listening ear, a kind word, a simple act of service. We all have the ability to be a source of hope for someone else.
It's a reminder that we're all connected, that we all need each other. And sometimes the most profound acts of well-being are the ones we do for others. Those small gestures that can make a world of difference.
And on that note, McRaven shares another story that really drives this point home. It's about an injured Army Ranger he met in a hospital in Afghanistan. This Ranger had stepped on a mine and lost both his legs.
Oh, gosh.
McRaven was so struck by the Ranger's resilience, his determination to not let this tragedy define him.
Didn't the Ranger say something like, I'm just glad it was me and not one of my men?
He did. And that kind of selflessness, that unwavering commitment to something bigger than himself, perfectly illustrates McRaven's final message, never ever ring the bell.
It's interesting how it keeps coming back to that bell. It's such a powerful symbol of the choice we have to either give up or keep fighting.
He describes how on the very first day of SEAL training, the instructors show the trainees a brass bell and say, if you want to quit, just ring this bell 3 times. But then they add this warning. Quitting never makes anything easier.
And of course, SEAL training is designed to push people to their absolute limits.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how tempting that bell must have been.
Out of 150 trainees who started, only 33 graduated.
Wow.
But McRaven's point is that life is full of bells.
Right.
Those temptations to give up when things get tough.
So what's the key to resisting those temptations? How do we cultivate that never give up mentality?
He reinforces this idea by sharing the story of that Army Ranger who lost his legs. Even in the hospital bed with his life irrevocably changed, this Ranger was focused on getting back to his unit, on finding a way to continue serving. He was refusing to ring the bell even in the face of such unimaginable loss.
That's a powerful example of choosing to focus on what we can still do rather than dwelling on what we've lost.
Yeah.
It's about finding a way to move forward even when it feels impossible.
And McRaven uses that story to make it clear that we all face bells in our own lives.
Right.
Those moments when we're tempted to give up on a dream, a relationship, a goal, or even on ourselves. The choice is always ours. What bells are you facing? It's about recognizing that we have more strength and resilience than we often give ourselves credit for. And sometimes the key to unlocking that strength is simply refusing to give in to those moments of doubt, to those bells that tempt us to quit.
It's a powerful message and one that aligns perfectly with the whole idea of well-being. It's not just about physical health. It's about mental and emotional resilience, about cultivating that inner strength that helps us navigate life's challenges.
Absolutely. And what I find so inspiring about McRaven's book is that he doesn't just tell us to be strong or resilient. He shows us how he uses these real-life stories, these incredible experiences from his time as a SEAL, to illustrate these principles in action.
And those stories, while often intense, are so relatable. It's about finding the courage to face our fears, the importance of teamwork, and support the power of hope even in the darkest of times. These are universal themes that we can all connect with.
It's about recognizing that even small actions like making your bed can have a ripple effect leading to bigger and more meaningful changes in our lives.
It all comes back to that idea, right? That those seemingly insignificant choices can set us on a path towards a more fulfilling life.
Exactly. And that's where McRaven's message aligns perfectly with the mission of this podcast. It's about empowering you to take those small steps, to make those choices that lead to a healthier, happier, and more meaningful life.
It's been a fascinating deep dive into Admiral McRaven's wisdom.
Mm.
I think we've covered a lot of ground today, from bed making to sharks to the power of hope, and even a little bit about sugar cookies.
We have, and I hope our listeners have found this exploration as inspiring as we have.
Thanks for listening to the Wellbeing Podcast. Take care, stay inspired, and see you next time.